Hello everyone. We at SCMHRD are delighted to have with us our guest Mr. Arvinder Gujral as part of our interview series through the corporate lens. Arvinder is our alumnus from the batch of 1999. Arvinder has had a meteoric and inspiring rise in his corporate career, working in globally competitive internet, wireless, tech consulting, and advertising industries. He has been associated with the popular microblogging and social networking service provider Twitter since 2003 and 2013 and is presently the Managing Director, Southeast Asia and Senior Director, Business Development, Asia Pacific, China and Australia at Twitter. To know more about his corporate as well as SCMHRD experience, we have on board with us our esteemed director, Dr. Pratima Sheorey. Now I request Pratima ma'am to please take this interview forward.
So Arvinder, wonderful to see you here actually in flesh and blood, albeit virtually. But welcome to SCMHRD. And the building you see in my backdrop is what the campus is now. We occupy the top 4 floors and I sit on level 4 in that. So somewhere squarely in between all of that. Okay. I don't know if you've ever been to this campus. Have you come to this campus before?
No, unfortunately, I haven't been to Pune in a very, very long time. So definitely not seen the new campus. I've heard from my fellow folks who studied with me, my batchmates, that have been there, and it's incredible and inspiring. But unfortunately, I haven't had the chance yet.
I think Arif is your batch.
Arif, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Arif has been here a couple of times now for conducting recruitment drives and speaking with the students and stuff like that. So wonderful to meet you here. I actually, it's going to be like a Q&A, but I wanted to understand from you, if you can explain to all of the people that are seeing this and are going to see this, we'll put it on, of course, on YouTube as well, is for us to understand something about your background, where you came from, and then SCMHRD, and then since then. So in retrospect, when you look at where you began and where you are today, how do you look at that journey?
Oh, this is making me jog many, many decades back. So an old man going back in his years, but I'll try my best and try and keep it as short as I can. So my journey begins in Calcutta in the early to mid 1970s. We were not a very well-off family. In fact, we were in a kind of a, you might say, luxurious chawl or a slum of Calcutta was where I was born.
Don't tell me you're a Punjabi who can speak Bengali.
I'm absolutely that fellow. In fact, I'm worse. I'm a Punjabi who can speak Bengali but cannot speak Punjabi.
Oh, pity.
So my friends call me pseudo-surd. I do understand. So every time someone says, speaks to me in Punjabi in any flowery language, I know exactly what they meant. And I give it back to them in Bengali then and Punjabi. But yeah, so because I was born in Calcutta, I did pick up Bengali as a third language in school as well. I studied in a very good school, Don Bosco there. And
it's one of the better schools.
Yeah, and so Hindi and Bengali became the languages that came on my tongue much more easy. And because they are very similar to Punjabi, there's a word called lehza. So Punjabi ka lehza nahi chada zaban pe. So I would speak in English, obviously, Hindi and Bengali, but Punjabi, whenever I tried, I would murder the language, and everyone said, please don't do it. It's a beautiful language. Don't destroy it. And so I never got the confidence to even try speaking it. But anyways, that was Calcutta. I did my college undergrad there in commerce, and then tried a lot of colleges, and I got through Simbi as well, which was very fascinating for me. The road to my B school also is interesting because I actually wanted to be in engineering and didn't want to do commerce at all. I got into a couple of schools in the US, but family did not have the budgets to support. And so I ended up doing a local college in Calcutta. And then I said, okay, I need to break out of this, this kind of a situation which I'm not very happy about. And I applied in Simbi. And that time Simbi was an up and coming college. We're talking in 97. It was not the established building behind yourself right now. But anyways, it was Symbiosis has been an incredible experience, and we'll talk about that as we go along.
Yeah. So, when you came to, so you were at the Atur Center. I think you were the first batch that moved into Atur Center.
I think maybe you were the first batch, or maybe the batch preceding.
You were the first. You were the first. You were the first batch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 97, 99.
When I came for my GD and interview, there was construction work happening at that point of time.
Yes.
And
yes.
I looked at my dad. My dad looked at me and he said, "Where the hell are we? This doesn't look like a B school. It looks like a small construction building happening." And obviously it was B construction. But anyways, that's folklore.
2 floors. I remember first and second floor.
Yes.
And I remember, my first experience with SCMHRD was with the batch of 99 of marketing. And there was a course on qualitative research that I came and took. Okay. And I don't remember the name. Aaphi ke batch mein jo bhi tha wo. And I'm not very far away from your age group. So when I walked into class, they thought it was some new student that had walked in. They're like, "Where's the faculty? Where's the faculty?" And I'm like, "I think I'm going to take this subject." And then we had Anjali walk in from behind, and so she sort of said, "Abhi attendance lete hain," so all of that. And then everybody was like, "Oh my God, is this twit going to teach us?" So that's.
I hope my batch was kind to you.
I don't know which way it worked, but I think what was his name? Keskar. He was in your batch, right?
Keskar, I don't recall.
No. So he was 2 batches junior to 2001. Okay. So 99. So the how should you say? After your batch, not your batch. After your batch.
So we graduated in
99. You graduated in 99, and in 99, I think July, August is when I first interacted with SCMHRD.
I can speak on behalf of my batch. We are very kind souls.
Yeah. So that's how my journey with SCMHRD began.
Okay.
And so I know for a fact that 97, 99 was the first batch that moved into Atur Center. Before that, until the batch of even 97, 95, 97, passed out of the, the Arts and Commerce College with 2 classrooms. Right? So that was where they passed out from. So tell me, today when you look at what you are doing and what you have learned and done along the way, where is the connect and where is the disconnect? And, so therefore, how has been, in terms of learning, how has been the journey now from SCMHRD to now?
So how brutally honest do you want me to be?
Completely.
All right, and I'm not known to hold back. So that's the way I work. Now, so there have been obviously a lot of positives that Simbi gave, right? And obviously there's a lot of room for improvement from the experience of I got at Simbi. Obviously Simbi today, SCMHRD is in a much different place. So I won't comment on what you're doing today. I'm going to comment on what I went through from 97 to 99. Sure. That was my reality. Today's reality is in 2 decades. So obviously Symbiosis is a much more evolved institution than it was. That was more of a startup. So I have to give some discount to the learning we had there and to some of the efforts that we did or the direction that we went in. But nevertheless, I think one of the things that in SCMHRD, what it taught us was being scrappy. I think that was important. And there was a lesson. It was not a lesson that was probably taught to us with intent. It was a lesson taught by default because we were part of a startup college, put together faculty with a syllabi that was evolving, right? And once you throw smart people into a pot, something good comes out of it. I think that was the recipe of SCMHRD from 97 to 99. We had smart people with good intent, but not the best. And I think intent was very important, right? Everyone had their own perspective as well. I mean, some directions, half my batch definitely we disagree with some of the things we did, and other half may agree. I don't know. I haven't done a poll with our batch, but I think being scrappy, making do with what you have, these are things you do in corporate life. Because today, in the positions you are, in the position I am, my batchmates are, we all have finite resources at our disposal. No matter what industry you're in or what level you're at, you could be a junior manager or the CEO or the MD or a VP, doesn't matter. whichever level you are, you have a scope of roles and responsibility and access to certain facilities, right? Assets.
Yes.
But everything that you have access to is very limited, always limited. And you will always say, I want more. I want more budget. I want more FTE. I want more people and time to complete the task, but you never have it. So I think learning that skill set in Symbiosis was important for us. Though again, I don't think it was taught with that intent, but it did become by default, because then if you can survive a scrappy nature by that, then I think you will do well in life eventually. I think the industry exposure we got then, which I'm sure has evolved to even much greater heights today. I did, one-day program with Pepsi in Pune, driving with the Pepsi truck around this Pune, which was an incredible experience from a retail perspective to see how they do the delivery of the bottles and how they break Coca-Cola bottles to stamp out competition. Like these things are never taught in B-school, right?
No.
These are on the job. Did my summer internship was very interesting, and in fact, eventually I got placed in that summer internship with FCB Ulka, the ad agency. Then I don't know what it's called now. I think summer internship is very important and critical. I think, and I learned a few important skills right there. So when I walked into my summer internship there, I was given a project, like everybody gets a project in summer internship, and you have, I think, 2 months to do it there, or 1 month. I forgot the time now. And most people just do that one project and do it well, and they submit it. But what I did was I did that project in 30 days, and then I went back and said, I want more work. And I did that, and I said, I want more work. So I did 4 projects with them in the time duration I had. So it doesn't matter how good my project was or bad it was, right? Because they're not expecting anything from management or from an intern.
Yes.
But what they saw was somebody coming in and being hungry to do more.
Yes.
So when they're hiring you as an intern, they're not expecting you to solve corporate problems. So what the problem they're giving you, the chances of your solution being implemented is very remote. They might take that as an input to eventually, if you're lucky, and if you're lucky, you'll even get feedback. Most times you don't even get feedback to what happened. Your report might just go to a dustbin. Sometimes it is taken as important input to solving a problem. But I think your lean in attitude comes across there to the management, and they want to see if you have a hunger in you. And I think that's, because I saw fellow trainees, summer trainees from other institutes, in fact, more famous institutes than ours at that point of time, who bunked office, who filled in the fake forms, who did one project in 2 months, while I, from a much more humble college from Symbiosis, did a lot more. I think, those things you learn along the way, because the college was structured in that manner, right? We were always scrapping about getting our way through, in fact, learning beyond what the college was teaching us in some cases, because obviously we didn't have the best world-class faculty, let's be very honest. We had a little more emphasis on non-academics as well at that point of time, and Vipassana and yoga and pranayama and all those things. So those things are important skill sets to learn as a human. Again, we can have a debate on how much time should you spend during your 2 years of B school on such co-curricular activities. I mean, my wife now tells me that I should be doing some more yoga because of my lower back. And it does remind me of the times we had with Professor Pillai. And those words do ring. I mean, he was right. And I completely agree with him out there. But again, it's just a matter of perspective. Are you in a state of understanding the context where a 45 or 50-year-old is coming from when you're 17, 18, 20, 23? And I think that mismatch will always remain.
Yeah, so now, of course, just very quickly, Arvinder, to bring you up to speed in terms of where we are at SCMHRD today. Of course, late Professor MS Pillai, and we did a memorial service. I mean, 25 years, the 25th year celebration, we kicked off by calling Professor MS Pillai to SCMHRD on the 6th of Jan. And in a year from there, he was gone. So which means that in 2018, we entered our 25th year of existence. 13th October 1993 is when we were set up. So if you look at where we are today, Professor MS Pillai steered the institute, captained the institute till 2004. After which Professor or Dr. K.S. Subramanian steered the institute for 9 years thereafter, up to 2013. And 2013, I took over from him. But my association with SCMHRD now from 99 onwards. In between, I came and went and whatever, but well, let's just say that a large part of my career is at SCMHRD. Okay. And since then, I can say that in 2000, so in between, we also had a 1-year, PG program in HR. I think it was there in existence at your point in time also. 2001 was the last batch that passed out from that program. 2002, Symbiosis got the deemed university status. Okay. And it took 3-4 years. By 2006 is when SCMHRD came under the ambit of SIU. And so now the degrees that we offer are MBA. It's no longer a PGDM.
Well, I feel underqualified with the diploma.
Qualification is the amount of learning you do. And let me tell you, it's as much you learn. So if you did 4 projects, can I say that you did summers 4 times over? Probably yes. That's the kind of learning that is the need of the hour today. 2011, we set up an MBA in infrastructure development and management. So, which is railroad, highways, air, etc., etc. Okay. And after that, in 2014, right? Right now, we are getting both these people separately. Right? So we pick up analytics guys from the likes of IITs or good engineering colleges, NITs, etc. We get business people from MBA institutes. And then once they've matured 3-4 years, then we push them into business analytics, right? So we are unable to get that mixed together. And then I said, okay, in the university system, we will start off the program in 2016. It'll hit the market in 18. And they said, well, we thought you wanted to know what we want today, not 4 years from now. So, that's how we ended up starting a 1-year PGP in business analytics in 15. So 15, 16, 16, 17, 2 batches passed out. 17 onwards, we converted it into an MBA in business analytics. So now we have 3 programs, unlike the 2 divisions that you guys had of your PGDM. We now have an official intake of 180 for the MBA program, which is the core program, the oldest flagship program, of course. We have an MBA in infrastructure development and management with an intake of 60. And then we have an MBA in business analytics with an intake of 60. We also have an executive program, MBA executive, which is a 30-month program. That's another intake of 60. So in total, actually, we take in between 350 to 370 students now for the full-time programs every year. The finance curriculum is now upgraded. And so in 2013, we were the first institute to be recognized by CFA US, which means 70% of the curriculum is now aligned to the Chartered Financial Analyst curriculum. So we were the first in the country. There are a bunch of other institutions, I understand, that are there now. In 2014, we entered the AACSB accreditation process. You can see the green logo. Yeah. So that's we are one of only 14 institutions in the country, and one among roughly 900 business schools worldwide that have the AACSB accreditation. It's American. So which means that we are now internationally benchmarked. We embarked on that journey in 2014. This year, just before the lockdown hit us, in January, the peer team paid us a visit, accredited us, and so this is where we are today. We are among the larger institutions, even among the Symbiosis overall Symbiosis portfolio, and even otherwise also generally we are among the top 20-25 in the country. So one is proud to be where we are, and the contribution of alumni such as yourselves is tremendous. So tell me something, Arvinder. Now, if I have to ask you for advice with respect to specializations, with respect to the kind of learning and direction. Of course, aap log ke baad trimester system tha, now it is semester. And so we have 4 semesters in all, and that's where we are sitting. What are some of the things that you feel need to be incorporated, or that the students should be mindful of when they do their MBA and when they enter the corporate world? See, unlike your time when mostly freshers entered the batch, that's not the way SCMHRD is structured now. There's about 30–40% freshers, but then they come from some of the top institutions in the country, like an LSR or something like that, okay? St. Stephen's, etc. So, which essentially means that we are, it's a different kind of a crowd, and I'm sure you are hiring from business schools as well in your organization. So from you, for somebody who's seen the entire transition to where you are today, what would be your advice with respect to, some of the key things that an MBA should have in mind when he or she embarks on a career or even enters the business school? So what should be their priorities?
So again, it's a very different context, because when we entered, a lot of us were freshers from college and went to B school. And I think that in hindsight is not the most optimal route, because you don't know anything. And you do 2 years in MBA and you think you know everything. And then you enter the corporate world and you realize you know nothing again, right? So that's that
doesn't change. Even now, every time I see a new batch, they teach me new things. Because of all the antics that they do, I learn new things every time. Okay.
But now, hopefully, a lot of more of your students have some work experience. And I think what that 1 or 2 or number of years experience does to you is demystify corporate, working in a corporate environment. What does it demystify? It demystifies the following thing. Thing number 1, it tells you very clearly what you don't want to do. So that is the one thing I learned before my B school. The only thing that worked for me was, before I joined Symbiosis, I had done 2 years doing my commerce degree in Calcutta. I worked from Bank of America on the side to make pocket money. But what I learned while working with Bank of America for 2 years was I don't want to work in a bank. I was just working there for pocket money as a team. But that drilled in my head. So what does work experience do pre-MBA? It tells you what you don't want to do. You might not know what you want to eventually do. Because even me, I studied something in marketing in Symbiosis. I went to advertising and then went to Infosys and joined the marketing team. But eventually I've changed so many roles and I've changed so many industries. I've done marketing. I've done pre-sales, I've done sales, I have done business development, I have done product development, I have led teams on the internet industry, I have done tech consulting, though I'm not a tech person myself, so I did some process consulting. And now I'm leading an internet company, Twitter, and that requires, I'm basically leading marketing, public policy, finance, tax, HR. Everyone is reporting to me, right? Doesn't mean I'm an expert in any of those things, right? So you learn a lot of things and you pick up a lot of tricks along the way. But when you enter, the things you need to have is hunger to learn, to be clear on what you can't do, and it's absolutely not aligned to your interest. So you don't waste your time poking around things when you join your first job. So you focus on what you can do and what is aligned to your interest, and you do that well, right? And I think one of the mistakes a lot of us do, and in fact, I recorded a podcast recently on continuous learning. Now, what do I mean by that? We have this mindset, as most humans do, is we go to college, we learn, our education is over. Now we go work, right? And then I question most of us, especially all of us MBA types. I ask them, you've done an MBA, and now you've never gone back to learning, right? A lot of us will read Stephen King, etc., which is fine. I say, well, a doctor and a lawyer, after they graduate, they are always learning. They're always reading the books that are pertaining to their field of specialization. Why do we not have something that helps us continuously learn? Because it doesn't mean that in the year 99, I did MBA and now I know everything about business and management. I know nothing.
Yes.
Because practices change, theories change, how org design changes. There's just so much evolution that has happened. But we rarely go back to school and do it. Some of us are fortunate. Our companies give us the visibility to go back to certain schools. I was fortunate to go to Wharton a few years ago, and just refresh your mind and see and new theories that have been developed on org design, etc. And I think that is one of the things that while you are learning in school today, please make sure you have a path of continuous learning, because I think if you stop that, you are more redundant than the next person adjacent to you who is continuing the path of continuous learning.
Yes. So wonderful. I mean, in fact, you know, if you look at the mission of SCMHRD right now, we are looking at continuous and sustained learning. Okay, it's a part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Lifelong learning is something that most governments and most public policy agencies across the world are trying to inculcate in people. That, you know, a couple of years of experience does not mean that you've learned it all. It means that you now know that there is so much more to know and you know very little of that. And that you should constantly, I'm so glad, Arvinder, you spoke about this, because MBA is a terminal degree today for most students, right? And they don't want nothing to do with education once MBA is complete, right? So that is such a wrong attitude. And, you know, fortunately, some of our students, some of them, okay, I know have gone back to Booth School. I know have gone to Kellogg. I know I have taken up shorter, you know, 1 year, 6 month kind of programs on public policy or on analytics maybe, or something like that, okay? So I'm so glad you spoke about that. You know, when you look at a comparative in terms of, let's say, marketing or HR, now these are the two big specializations that we have at SCMHRD. You know, how does one select what you want to do?
So that's a, you know, for me, when I had no experience, I walked into SCMHRD with zero work experience, right? For me, I just went by, I spoke to a few people, they're like, oh, you look like a marketing person. I have some garbage like that. And I don't know how those decisions were made. So naive were we and so ill-informed on making a decision. But we did it, right? I took a decision and I said, I have to fill the form, something I have to specialize in. So I chose marketing. Right? I knew I didn't want to do finance because I worked in a bank and I had a very bad experience with bank camp. So I'm like, I'm definitely not doing finance. But in HR and marketing, tu bolta bahut hai, tu marketing ka. So, you know, that was, I would not advise that as a decision-making criteria or a matrix of decision-making. But I think, hence, work experience pre-MBA plays a big role there. Okay. Because, and try and do as many different roles and see different facets of the organization you're in, to get a glimpse into what do they do on a day-to-day basis. Because nobody's reading a finance book or an HR book or a marketing book in the job in their end. Sure. They're practicing. Sure. They're solving the problems of the organization of that department or the business problem that you're solving for that day or the quarter or the year, depending on how you live your life. And that's the glimpse you want pre-MBA to see what is their day-to-day activity. What are they actually solving? And the question should be not, what do I want to be? Because that's the wrong phrasing. The question should be, what problems do I enjoy solving? Okay. Because the minute you say, and you know, you frame your mind, Undo, what problems do I enjoy solving? Because then you brought your intrinsic joy out of it. Like, I enjoy doing this, this, this. And then you link, if that links to a certain specialization, you have linked what something that gives you joy and passion into what you want to do tomorrow. But okay. if your question is, should I do finance and marketing? I think I make more money. Maybe the finance people make more money. I should do finance. Or people have told me I'm a more outgoing person. The biggest myth, by the way. Oh, you're a very outgoing personality. You are very garrulous. I think you should be doing sales or marketing. That's absolute bull. Because in the real world, there are introverts and extroverts in every field. There is no one strict rule about people who talk more should do marketing, people who talk softly should do HR, or people who are good at numbers do finance. There is nothing like that. I think, and that's
you need a mix of all of this.
Yes. I mean,
for any specialization.
I had people in finance reporting to me, and it's not like they were, most of them actually, one of them, in fact, out of half of them were not MBA in finance. They stumbled into numbers and their love for solving these problems in their orgs. And from either they came from engineering backgrounds or consulting backgrounds or some other background into this field. And that's what their passion is. They like drawing charts, they like coding and drawing these fancy charts to show where the business is heading, blah, 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 predicting and seeing how close they were in the prediction to what actual results were. But so the problem that you as students need to solve today is, what do I enjoy? What problems do I enjoy solving most? and try and go and try and answer that as much as you can. Obviously, you cannot get the right answer, but you'll get closer to the right answer. And that doesn't mean whatever answer you land today, suppose that answer leads you to finance or HR or marketing or whatever. It doesn't mean that's the right and only answer. As you said, it's not terminal answer. The answer evolves. You might go into marketing. I have so many people I know who have specialized something in MBA and are in a completely different field altogether. As you said, people who have done public policy. Public policy is not even taught in most B schools. Yes. Right? And so your love for public policy makes you go and learn more and then move into a field on public policy. I have public policy teams reporting into me in Southeast Asia, right? They are B school graduates, never did public policy in their life there. So it is the attitude that you bring to what problem do you like solving and enjoy solving the most.
Yeah. So, one thing that we are doing here is that each and every student at SCMHRD will do at least 1 or 2 more live projects during semester projects over and above their summer internships. So in fact, when the Ministry of Urban Development in India, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, 15, 17 batch is the one that did it, launched the Smart City Mission, right? And they did, they launched the competition in the 100 top cities in India. Pune was one of them, and Pune came second. And I'm proud to say that our batch of infrastructure development and management, those students worked with the Pune Municipal Commissioner and McKinsey to design the Smart City Vision document. And they were a part of it. And I have a certificate which says that their work was much appreciated in terms of what they do. So a lot of good work that our students have now been doing. So live projects are now a constant and a lot of students do that. Yeah. So they may have worked, but now they may not have had relevant experience. About 70% or more are engineers, and so they've all been doing coding before they came here. And so that is another large percentage. So they definitely know they don't want to do coding, but then among the other, what is it that they should answer? That is something that they don't understand. Okay, one question or one debate that has been raging right now in India is, sitting at Twitter and sitting at Singapore, that is where you're placed, right?
Yeah.
Right now, yeah. So given from that perspective, the debate right now is about the new education policy, right? Google, was Google or was it Apple? Google a while back, I think about a month ago, said that we don't, we'll just give certifications and we'll hire based on that. We don't need graduation degree certificates or anything like that. Now, so what is your take on this kind of education where after 12 people, break it up into, let's say, 1 year. So what the government current education policy is talking about, you do 1 year and you get a certificate. You do 2 years and you get a diploma, and you do 3 years and you get a degree, and you do 4 years and you get a degree plus, which is with research. So you will write a dissertation necessarily at the end of the 4th year to complete your credits. How is industry? And so therefore, which means that all master's program will become 1 year.
So this is 4 years of undergrad and 1
4
year
years of undergrad and 1 year of grad. Okay.
Oh.
And revolutionary, after 34 years, they have put this policy in place. Of course, implementation is a big issue. And in a big country like India, implementation is the biggest devil. Yeah. And, but this is there. So somebody who's sitting in the organization that you are, what is your view with respect to hiring MBAs, hiring just graduates, or just undergraduates, whatever. And how do you look at it? I mean, as a company that has multinational presence and, today you are really talk of Twitter of the town, so to say, everywhere. How would you look at education, and what kind of people do you think you can hire at various levels?
So I'm not that informed on the education policy, but I'll give you the answer from a Twitter perspective, right? We have offices all over the world. We hire globally, and we hire across the chain, which is from a management trainee all the way up, right? Most of our hires do happen on a lateral basis, which is not necessarily hiring freshers of school or colleges and looking for experience. Though, but we do have a university program, global university program, and select universities in the world are part of that program. And so it's a global internship program. So all your Harvards and all are part of that. And we only take interns from those select colleges. So there are two lenses in which to view this. Now, this is an evolving debate, just not in India. Education is evolving, higher education is evolving debate globally. And pandemic is making it more real now.
Yes.
So there are startups in the Valley in the US where there are these new universities who only teach coding, and you may not have any background in engineering before this, and they will do your course in coding for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then you get hired by all the Silicon Valley companies in the Valley, right? And so what does it mean? Look at the difference. You no longer have to go to a 4-year undergrad engineering course and do a 2-year, postgrad in engineering and then get hired. Here you go here, and I have seen so many tweets of plumbers and electricians who have gone through these new age schools and graduated in that sense, and are getting hired by the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world in engineering teams, right? Because people are stopped looking at degrees in the university you're from and seeing what have you done have you learned, and can you exhibit it? That's why then the onboarding process is very important. That's why, when, especially for subjects like engineering, etc., you can quantify the kind of person you want. So there are two kinds of hiring you have. Hiring where you can quantify the person you have. So I'll give you a real problem. Can you solve it?
Correct.
Where it becomes fuzzy is when unquantifiable hiring is required. For instance, I need somebody to head my sales channel for X. Now, how do I quantify that? So the way it works there is it's a filtration criteria. How do you filter? I filter with your experience of your resume. Then I filter further through your background of education. So where does university education, etc., come in? Honestly, it comes down to pure filtration. When companies are hiring, there are thousands of universities around the world with tens and thousands of graduates coming out every year. How would one recruiter sitting in one corner of the world know who's the better one?
Correct.
Then you go by filtration. Okay, let me go and make my job easier and just filter out and say, okay, give me, depending on your capabilities as an organization and your power to attract talent. That's why companies go overboard to try and attract top talent. So then they will go and say, okay, if I can attract the top talent, like the Googles of the world, Twitter, Facebook, etc., we can attract top talent. They'll say, okay, if I can take anyone from anywhere in the world, let me do this criteria. Okay, let me filter the colleges, best colleges in the world across some criteria they might have internally. And then within that, they'll say, okay, now I've selected these colleges. Now within that, which students do we want? Okay, within that, I want to see students who have X work experience previously, have done certain things and have shown certain competencies. So these are nothing but filtration criteria. I'm kind of basically doing selection criteria of people we want. It is not a reflection of you as an individual, whether you are the right person or not.
Correct.
Because we're trying to simplify our lives in hiring. Not make it, you might come and make an argument, but I am more qualified. But put yourself in the shoe of the recruiter. When somebody is hiring, they have tens and thousands of resumes. They're trying to simplify the problem statement. How do I find and sieve out the right resumes within that? They will apply with apathy, just filtration criteria. If you do meet the criteria, then you get interviewed, and then how well you do there and how well you show your capability, it happens. So I think those are the two kind of hiring. So one is where you can quantify the kind of person you want, which is a lot more easier to do in engineering roles globally. And yet the background may or may not be as important. Your educational criteria, qualification may not be as important. Your school brand is not as important. But the fuzzy hiring, where I need an executive for advertising or in HR, how do you show that you're better than someone else? First, they'll say, okay, which is the better institute? Let me first go there.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Then within that, you and your peers, now let's be honest, all of you listening to me, all your friends are your competition as well. Just remember that. Because when the company comes in, that doesn't mean you go and hit them, poke them in the eye. But when the company comes in, they are looking at all your resumes together and selecting one from the other. So you have to figure out, what do you bring to the table that is so distinctive and differentiated that it sits up in that pile of resumes and it gets noticed by the hiring manager. So I think that's where you have to play a little smart when you're thinking about your post-school, when this hiring season comes along?
Yeah. Okay. So great. You have any questions, Arvinder, for me, for us?
Yeah. So, in fact, given the COVID environment, right? So, first of all, I would ask all of you, and please, as Symbiosis, I don't know if you're on Twitter. If you're not, please set up a Twitter account. I would really urge you to do that. And the reason I say it is the following. Twitter is not a social network like Facebook. Facebook is people you know in real life and you stay online connected.
Correct.
Twitter is an interest network. People with interests meet on Twitter. So like I follow astronomy and football and tennis and cricket and stock trading, and I have my interests in like archaeology is an interest of mine. I follow authors on Twitter. Why? And then I end up meeting people who like me, like similar books or have similar thoughts on physics. And again, when we talk about continuous learning, I never ended up doing engineering, but my love for physics and astronomy has never gone away. So today I pursue that as an interest, which I read about, I listen to podcasts, and I talk to people on Twitter who I never meet, professors in Caltech, who I engage with the tweets, but I'll never go to Caltech and study engineering again, right? So I urge not only Symbiosis, but the students as well. Why? Whatever your interests are, follow those passion and interests on Twitter, because it is free and you get to peek into the minds of people who are authority on their fields. So you will learn so much more. Yes, please spend your time on Snapchat and have fun with your friends and Facebooks and Instagram. I'm not denying, but this is free knowledge available for the most brilliant minds of the world on the field in which you have an interest in. To access that capital of human brain power. And you will become smarter in the interim because of that, doing that. So the question for you in a post-pandemic environment is the following, and this is a raging debate about with all the VCs and all this brand name CEOs that we call them in the tech space on Twitter. Why are students going to go back to college in a COVID environment? And now, because of the danger of infection, then it's the global question to all education. So now people are asking questions. Why should we pay, like people asking the US universities, why should I pay a Harvard $60,000 a year to study when I've seen that I can actually do a lot of that education at a fraction of a cost sitting at home? So people are questioning the business model viability of these large education institutions.
Yeah, so,
how are you rethinking the program in a post-COVID environment?
So one is that we've started already virtually, okay? Which means that, of course, we don't begin anything at 6 o'clock in the morning, but we do have, nothing forced now, but you can do yoga or other sessions that we've organized for the students in the mornings. Then they have classes. All of that is happening virtually. It took a little while because, even the teachers who are your and my age, sometimes older as well, had to migrate to using the virtual medium. That's point number one. So that took a little while. Second is that there is a lot of, so unless and until, so Twitter is like a large discussion forum or networking, virtual networking kind of a thing. But till such time as individual colleges can evolve to the level where students are able to, so there is as much learning in class as much as there is because of peer learning, studying with people from different walks of life, and also outside class. So what you talked about, we learn to be scrappy. You learned it outside the class. But being with that group and that entire tempo of just wanting to make a difference and being seen as a graduate with some consequence made you want to be a part of that entire journey. So in MSP's words, the journey is the reward, right? And that journey somehow, as of now, gets compromised when you look at a blended approach. Okay. So I'm unable to physically connect, and human beings by their very nature are people that like to, so while a namaste and a hello from far away sounds really good and great, but I would love to shake hands with you. I would love to hug my parents. This is something that is a innate human need. Until we are able to build that on a parallel, especially in a professional course. Okay, when you look at an undergrad and a postgrad, a physical presence is necessary. Ahead of that, it may not be. Ahead of that, at the level that you are, then I may not want to just interact with anybody, and I'll choose whom I wish to interact with. But in a classroom setting, people haven't yet evolved. And believe me, we are yet getting requests from students, and Pune is the COVID hotspot in the country today.
Yes.
The highest number of people. I am sitting in office today. Appropriate social distancing and all the other things in place, including masks, etc. So all of that I have. But the point is that students yet want to come back. They want to experience the campus firsthand. And in their minds, they have not moved on. So they know that they'll come back. Maybe you lose one semester or so, but ahead of that. So yes, at a fraction of the cost, but at a fraction of the experience. And
I think that's where the argument, I mean, India is also not as expensive as a destination for graduate and MBA courses, unlike some of the names I gave in the US, because they charge a massive premium, and the premium was all about the experience you get on the campus. And if the campus is not there, and then and these are not just me, these are words from educators in the US who are questioning validity of the business model. And because as we know, everything gets disrupted over a period of time. People are trying to disrupt the business model of education, right? And I think that's the context in which people are questioning in a post-COVID reality, what happens with the business model.
But if you ask me at an individual level that has seen management education or education as a field evolve over the last 2 decades, I would feel that we are on the cusp of another disruption. So the Harvards and the Berkeleys and all of them already have more students that they tutor, mentor, and teach online than they do in person. So they are using the brand that they built by teaching students physically in person in actual classrooms, and they're leveraging that to go online. Right? So yes, it is coming in the days. And so otherwise, who would believe that we would use our phones? We would use our phones to do anything at all, including, so why do you see the surge in OTT? All of this is there, but for now, immediate future, 2 years, 3 years, physical degree, yes, fraction of the cost, but fraction of the experience. And unless Twitter can innovate and give us a way in which you can have a virtual varsity, which is almost equivalent to the physical, I don't know. So that'll take a little while. And it's a mental realignment. See, for example, this particular conversation that I'm having with you right now, I feel it's a lot more up close and personal than it would have been if you would have just come here and we would have discussed over a cup of tea, coffee, and then you would have spoken with the students and you would have gone, right? I think this is a lot more personal, but this is after, in the first few days and towards the end of March when we went into a complete lockdown. From there was a complete discomfort to today when I'm extremely comfortable interacting like this.
So I get it. Absolutely.
Evolution. It's evolution.
My thesis as well. I mean, the same thing reflects in our lives in the work environment. When Twitter went to global lockdown as a company, our office is shut down since 7th of March or the 8th of March, and we will be shut down till the end of the year at the very minimum. Chances are it will be extended. So I haven't gone back to the office since 7th of March yet. And I'm working full-time from home, and I do not know when we will go back to office in 2021. Google has announced only middle of next year they might go back to office.
Yes, summer.
So these are the realities. Salesforce announced that they will do forever no more in-person conferences. So Salesforce has these big, massive conferences where they have 10,000 people for the Dreamforce event. No more industry conferences organized by Salesforce forever, only virtual. Cisco is a client of mine, Microsoft is a client of mine. All of their large events are all happening virtually now, right? So, and my teams are enabling that on Twitter. How do you do a virtual conference on Twitter and live stream it, etc.? So the industry is changing. It's changing faster than we can imagine. Yes. And obviously it took us all the first month or two to realign ourselves to work on that. But like we track everything that our teams do. So for instance, my team has X number of meetings they would do every week, every month, every quarter. And in the first quarter of the pandemic, yes, we saw a dip, but now we are back to pre-pandemic levels of meetings with clients. And every meeting has been virtual. We are not allowed to meet our clients in person globally. So I cannot go and meet a client in Singapore officially yet. So I've had 0 in-person meetings since March.
So even if that person's your next door neighbor, you yet can't do the, you know, I have my deputy director sitting in the next cabin, but we do meetings like this. Okay.
That's a reality, unfortunately.
So tell me something in the new COVID post-pandemic reality, from the industry perspective, what do you think the graduates should be prepared for?
I think the biggest lessons you can learn in this COVID environment is uncertainty. And that you can't be prepared for uncertainty, but what you need to be prepared for is I think the way to, again, let's reframe it. Today, no matter where you are in your journey during your B school year, the first semester of the first year or the last semester of the last year, if your dream recruiter, your dream company just comes and walks into your door and knocks and says, okay, I'm looking for a person, show me your qualifications. And I know you are in first semester of first year, but I want to see what you can do. Are you ready to answer that question? And that's the way you need to think, that you have to be forever ready. In the army, they say, right, you have to be forever ready for a battle. I think if nothing else, the COVID has taught you, because what has happened is a lot of students, like my son is in grade 9, but I know his friends who are in grade 11 and 12, they are not giving those exams, etc., for university entrance exams around the world. So the university is saying, okay, leave that. I want to see what you did in the last 4 quarters in your school. The students were not prepared to show school mark sheets and school achievements to universities. They were looking at showing SATs and all of the other external preps that they were working on. They're like, no, but I will give you some time. I will give you a nice SAT score. I don't want it. I want to see your score. So no student is prepared for this. Now you're going to be judged on your consistent performance rather than your one-off performance on SAT and your, everybody writes a very flowery application to universities in the US. So they're going to pass through all of that and say, okay, just show me what you've done in the last year in school. So that's the reality. And hence, as a student in SCMHRD, assume the world is ending tomorrow or your dream job is coming tomorrow. Are you ready to take it up? If Tata or Jio or Twitter or Facebook is ready to give you an offer letter, do you have the merit to accept it and the confidence to execute on the business challenges they'll give it to you, even though they'll hire you as an intern or hire you as a fresher out of school? And I think you need to be prepared and have the confidence of saying yes. And that's the uncertainty.
So, Arvinder, what you're trying to say is that you can't burn the midnight oil and suddenly be well prepared. If you haven't prepared,
then donkeys would be masters and we would be slaves because they work harder than us. It's not the criteria. Nobody wants a workhorse, right?
Yes, yes. So, which means that if you've been showing a consistent performance through the years, including your undergraduate and now your MBA, then you are a good candidate.
Two things: consistency, but incremental improvement on quarter or year on year, because it shows trajectory. I think those are the two things you look at, nothing else.
Yes.
Are you consistently doing what you are looking at doing? And are you consistently improving on your performance than the previous performance? Because then it shows that you're learning and doing it better the next time, and you're learning and doing it better the next time. And then that's the kind of candidate I would want to hire, because I know that I can give a business problem to this individual and he or she will solve it because they're smart intrinsically to understand and comprehend and execute. They might not be aware of the business challenge or the vertical in which they are hired, but they're smart enough to figure it out on their own because they have shown that they have figured out problems in the past and consistently improved and overperformed. So that's what most people look for.
So past behavior is a true indication of your future potential.
Always. Always. Look at your love life, look at your marriage prospects, and ask your parents about your past behavior. But the only caveat is life is not a linear equation. That's the only thought I leave.
Yes, it is.
Life is not a linear equation. It doesn't mean you are the A student in grade 1, A student in grade 10, which means you will be Ace in college and then you'll get the dream job. No, I have been a below average student in most school life. And I have seen friends in my school, in non-school, who were always topping grades. It doesn't mean that our lives are parallel and they have overachieved and I have underachieved all my life. It has nothing to do with it. Even in SCMHRD, our batchmates, some of us did well, some of us did not do as well academically or in co-curricular activities. What has bearing is how you implement your own personal self in the real world. And I think, hence, never assume a linear equation of life. So if you think, but man, Arvi said all of these things to me, but my previous track record is not amazing. Just wake up now and do it better. It's as simple as that. You have to realize at some point of time that somebody will look at you and ask you whether I should either marry this individual or hire this individual, right?
Yeah, that's true. So which means that being conscious of where you are, what you're doing, being open to challenges that are thrown at you, and you never say, you don't know the next corner you turn, and you may hit a huge opportunity or you may hit a huge roadblock. Who knows?
And so, if you hit a roadblock, be honest and say, I don't know, I want to learn more. Don't say, I know, and do a poor ass job and then look like a fool in front of that individual.
Yes, right. And I think one of the things that I have gained from your interaction right now is that no matter how big or small you may be humble, stay stuck to the ground, be aware of the reality. And I think, having an unnecessary attitude gets you nowhere.
I can't second that more. Why? If you think somebody else has achieved in life, this and that, it's all crap. And I'll give you a very simple example. Everybody has a boss. Yes. Everybody. No matter where in the corporate ladder you are, you will have to answer to someone. Even if you are a CEO, you're answering to the board. Even if you're in the board, you're answering to the chairman of the board. Even if you're chairman of the board, you're answering to the Wall Street or the stockholders. Everybody has a boss, everybody gets measured, and everybody gets judged on their performance. So never assume a designation to be the end game of your career ladder. I think that's the most silly mistake. When I was a kid, I wanted to be in cover of the magazines and TV and all of that. All that has happened. Yes, when it happens, do you feel good? Of course you feel good. It gives you an adrenaline kick for a minute. You're like, okay, I did it. But then you're like, so what? 10,000 people on TV talking every day. Everybody in magazine or newspapers publishing people's photographs. You're not unique. And your achievement should never be confused with your designation. A lot of time people come to you because of a designation. But that's not you. You are more than a job or a designation, because you will leave that job and designation and move to something else.
Yes.
So I would never say make a designation or a company or one role your dream, because your dream will keep evolving as you mature and realize things in life.
Yes.
And so all you have to figure out is what gives you sustained happiness and enjoy doing it. So I'll go back. What problems do you like solving? If you enjoy solving a problem, continue doing it. Yes, you will get designations and rewards and monetary or in kinds like this. That's all part of the parcel that will happen, as long as you enjoy solving the problem.
Wonderful and great speaking with you, Arvinder. I wish, we are able to interact in person in spite of, talking about virtual and everything else. And I'm sure you come down to India sometime or the other. And I hope that we can get one day of your life sometime in the coming years. In the interim, we have to be happy with this interaction. I think this is the first time that you have interacted directly with SCMHRD.
Yes, I haven't spoken to anyone since I left college in '99. So, I'm so happy. I'm happy to come and do what I can to give back to the college, which has given me so much. Professor Pillai, I can't thank SCMHRD, Professor Pillai, you all so much. All these are steps which you take, and these are part of your journey in life. And Symbiosis has definitely been a big part of my life and given me a lot that I've done. So even if I can't make it in person for the next foreseeable future, given the environment, happy to lean in a virtual environment to talk to a students' class and give.
I'm seriously going to engage you, speaking with some of our students. They can get into a Q&A. So I had the honor of speaking with you. Thank you so much for that. But I'm sure students have queries in their mind and they would like those answered, and really have a heart-to-heart chat with you. The kids, I wouldn't say they're kids really, because the average age has gone up. But the students today are a different variety altogether, and every batch is different, and I've seen 20 batches pass out. Arvinder, it's so I now can't place one from the other batch, but I can definitely say that the students have evolved, the institution has evolved, the market has evolved. And if you can come and speak with the students, I think there is nothing better than that. Virtually, we will arrange sessions with you. A lot of them have jitters just before placement. So I don't think a lot of them do the MBA for the learning, they do it for the job. SCMHRD offers good placement prospects, so that's what they come to SCMHRD for. And they get the most jitters when that happens. So they're going to need some virtual hand-holding, and I'm going to, look back to you at that point in time. But for the present, Arvinder, thank you. Thanks a lot. Alumni team, would you like to take it up from here?
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Arvinder, for joining us for this session. Your views on resource management and continuous learning are points we can all inculcate in ourselves. We also express our sincere gratitude to Pratima ma'am for joining us and making the session so engaging. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arvinder. See you. You take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.